Another season has dawned for the NASA Rallycross Challenge. Tonight, 24 of the best sim racers on dirt will take to the legendary Brands Hatch circuit in Kent, which not only has hosted NASA Rallycross for the past few seasons, but real-world Rallycross for 30 years. The defending champion, Josh Klog, has moved teams no longer with Fiercely Forward, along with his former teammate and double champion Luke Kraus not returning to the series. With newly crowned world champion Connor Berry making his NASA debut alongside hotshot driver Yakov Rafas, it is all to play for over the next 10 weeks. We welcome your Lights to Flag coverage live of the Overwatch specialty service NASA Rallycross Challenge, presented exclusively live on the Automotive Sports Network. Overwatch specialty service, the only thing more unique than your problem is our solution. For more information, check out osscenter.com. As hello everyone, it is Josh Mertz, all by himself, in the commentary box tonight, in the production truck, in race control. You know what? I'm just going to make sure that we have a good time tonight as we get ready for Season 26 of this championship. And it is going to be a thriller as we take a look at our format. That's what we're looking at. We have 24 cars here tonight. As we roll through practice, we're going to have 4 heat races, 6 cars in each, 6 laps, Joker once. And the top 2 will transfer. Second verse of the same song, the semifinals. Everybody else goes through to those races, 2 races, 8 cars in each, 5 laps, Joker once, top 2 advance. And the feature races, 12 cars, 10 laps, 2 Jokers. And I am so excited to be back in Great Britain. We have hosted the season opener here numerous times, whether it was Lidenhill, Croft, or here at Brands Hatch. And who knows, truly who knows, what's going to happen over the next hour and over the next 10 weeks as we finish up the 2022 calendar year and roll into 2023 for North American Simulated Auto Racing. As we do have, like I had mentioned, our new entitlement sponsor, Overwatch Specialty Service. Thank you to Justin Robichaux for getting that linked up with us as we are getting ready here in practice. Under 4 minutes left, and Robbie Larill 3/10 up on Jakob Rafos. Those two I can predict having a wonderful battle for the championship. And let me turn on our beautiful Rallycross audio so we can actually hear what's going on there. A couple of storylines before we get rolling into qualifying. It's going to be 5 minutes, 3 laps, so that gives these guys a couple of minutes to learn the track with dirt on it, as for the last hour they've been running on it, cleared off all the dirt, and that's not a fun time to have a rally car on effectively an asphalt road course, unless you're me. I really enjoyed that back in the day. So we have had 4 races here in Brands Hatch, and interestingly, no one has repeated as a winner. Sindre Silva, Luke Kraus, Bo Albert, Jakob Rafos, all former winners, all World Championship drivers. But this driver here, Jakob Rafos, one of the youngest winners, the youngest winner so far in the NASA Rallycross Challenge. He is hoping to become the first repeat winner here in Brands Hatch. He's up by 4/10 over Robbie Larill. We take a look at Victor Aldrich, currently 10th. Marwan Moftah, currently 8th, the Egyptian for Penguin RC LLM. And Justin Robichaux won the Sportsman Championship last season, but obviously he will not be able to run in that again. So who is going to be next in the Sportsman Championship? We'll have to wait and see for that one. As interestingly, down through the order, it is considerably bigger gaps than expected. Robbie Larill is 4.5 tenths back. Alex Abedi, 8 tenths off of Rafos, and defending champion Clog, 1.1 back. I did mention in my intro that we had Connor Berry making his debut. I thought he was in a practice session earlier today, but not here. So we'll have to wait and see when he makes his debut next week, as I believe we are in Knock Hill. Let me try and turn this up to see if everyone can actually hear me for once, as apparently we are very quiet here this evening. Thank you for that, as I, once again, by myself, having a good time. 1.5 minutes left in practice, and Ray Kingsbury has already said that the motor on the Ford has grenaded. He was talking earlier in the week about how the Ford could only really last 3 laps. Not sure if iRacing, I don't know if you'd call it a patch on the Ford. But I guess you could call it that in the terms of the software, but only lasting 3 laps. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, as the Last Lap Motorsports team goes back to Ford. They joined the championship back in 2018, driving the Ford Fiesta. Had some good success. Matt Kingsbury, interestingly, is the only one of the Kingsbury brothers to have won a race, and it was driving the Ford Fiesta. It was in 2020 in Wild West. Ray Kingsbury still looking for his first win in the NASA Rallycross Challenge. We look at Ben Forster in car number 23. We're going to take a look and see. We're going to take a look and see at our team breakdown of the drivers that are here this evening. So
yeah, I couldn't see it, so but it's the league rule that if you rejoin from the Joker, you got to give a roll. Thankfully, it's practice, you know.
as yes, we are returning to the chat scanner ways of the 2017-2018 NASCAR 2003 seasons. As I'm by myself, we need to spice it up somehow. So, Penguin RC LLM, Constructors Championship, these are the teams that are going for that. We have Team Watson Racing, pulling a Last Lap Motorsports. They have 12 cars split up across 3 teams. So they have Fiesta Siesta for the Ford, they have Bug Life for the Volkswagen, and 2 separate teams for the Subaru. Woven Planet Racing has expanded to 4 cars. Brock Quinn, who was the one car to not make the show this evening, Matt Powers, Jess Rakowski, and Justin Robichaux. As Francois Martel, after having a wonderful season at the tail end of last season, changing teams, or at least changing cars, I should say, so we'll have to see what happens there, as Fish Sport is no more after last season, so they kind of absorbed all of those cars. So now 12 cars for one team. As we enter qualifying with 4.5 minutes here, Jakob Rafos, fastest in practice, and we'll have to certainly wait and see what the Norwegian can do as we'll ride on board car number 13. Hopefully I don't get drowned out too horribly bad, but we'll go around this track, we'll ride on board, and just enjoy the sights and sounds here in Brands Hatch. So interestingly, you'll notice that he did not reflect a lap time as he hit the wall in turn 1. So Robbie Larill is up by nearly 9/10 of a second over Josh Klog, and it's a further 3/10 as Justin Robichaux jumps up to second on the board in the 93. Still 3/4 of a second behind Robbie Larill. That's a huge amount of time. Let's take a look at Rafos here as a Betty half a second down. Rafos will complete his second lap, crosses the line, 54.469, 7/10 up on Robbie Larill, 8/10 up on Francois Martel. Huge gap. So this race is going to be all about who can catch Jakob Rafos in car number 13 and who can take the championship away from him. We were supposed to have so many other drivers potentially race from the World Championship, and it just did not materialize. But 1.5 minutes left to go. Robbie Larill gets close. 0.2 of a second away from Rafos. Believe he'll have one more lap. This should be his final lap in the 213 for KES Industries. We'll have to wait and see what Robbie Larill can do. As we know, Robbie, always a fan of these rally cars. And the man from Louisiana, the closest competition potentially. Francois Martel was on it last season, but maybe the car switch is affecting him adversely. Final corner for Robbie in the 213. And he's going to cross the line in this Subaru and see where he will go. 55.427. So nowhere close for Larill. And unless something catastrophic happens over the next 40 seconds, we should be seeing Jakob Rafos P1 pole position here in Brands Hatch. Francois Martel, P3, Abedi, Clog, Robichaux, Oakenhow, Crosgrove, Marcus Palacio, Ben Forster, the top 10. Then we have Matt Powers, Matt Kingsbury, Brian Sawyer, Jamison Huffman, Aiden Irvin, Marwan Moftah, Russell Peterson, Alex Poteet, Justin Ament, Chris Wetz, Victor Aldrich, Ray Kingsbury, Jess Rakowski, and Jake Robichaux. Shout out to Jake Robichaux, father of Justin Robichaux, making his debut in NASA Rallycross. First father-son pairing to make their debut as we get ready for heat number 1. And this is going to be an interesting one because Josh Clog, defending champion, you know he does not want to get smoked off the line here. But it's all could potentially unravel as we have the cars on the grid. Should be 2 by 2 by 2. Although it could be
on the grid and my game's frozen.
Could be off there.
Watch yourself.
As Brian Sawyer having some issues
We're moving.
in the 88. So it's going to be a 2 by 2 by 2 start down to turn number 1. Pole position for Rafos, Clog, Palacios, Sawyer, Peterson, and Victor Aldrich. So it's a decent mixture of cars. We got a Ford, Volkswagen, and the rest are Subarus. 6 laps, 1 joker, top 2 transfer. And it's all going to be down to this start. Wheel spin, very tricky to combat off the line. You might be getting no wheel spin on the first phase, but it's very easy to spin the tires getting ready in that second phase of the start. Heat 1, getting ready to go here in Brands Hatch. Green flag. Rafos gets a good jump off the line ahead of Clog. Down to turn number 1. Single file for the top 2 for a moment. Clog peeked on the outside, tried to make something happen. Cleared him. Rafos did. Through the chicanes, through turns 1 and 2. Single file. And Rafos already out to a huge lead. Dives it into turn 3 there so hard and uses that sand trap as a buffer, almost like a wall to bounce off of it. And we haven't seen that, aside from this track, we haven't seen a move like that in quite some time. You'd have to go back to the NR days in order to find something like that. We have Peterson and Aldrich in the back here, battling for 5th. Let's see who will joker on the first opportunity here in Brands Hatch. Looks like nobody does. I lied. Victor Aldrich in the 98 trying to do something to get ahead of Peterson in the 59. At the end of the first lap, Rafos leads a second and a half ahead of Josh Clog in the 199. As Clog, Sawyer, Palacio, Peterson, Aldrich, that is our running order. Such a tricky track to get right. Those curves, you can clobber them, but if you hit them a millimeter wrong, you are into the wall, into the grass, into the tire barriers. So right on board, Brian Sawyer in the 88. Sitting in the 3rd spot. This is the perfect spot to be in if something goes wrong, but it's also the most tantalizing spot to be in if nothing goes wrong, because you think that something could happen and you race all heat race long expecting something to happen, nothing happens, and then you're upset. Jokering is the 88 of Sawyer. It's already a 3-second gap from Rafos to Clog. So we'll take a look at our joker rotation. Clog 55.825, 54.510. And everyone's talking about track limits. He's keeping a tire on the track if that's what we're referring to. Completely legal. You're talking to the master of track limits manipulation. The track limits rule was created because of me. So I am the master of track limits manipulation. Wonder if Clog's going to push this or if he's just going to ride it out. Because it's already a 4-second gap. I'm thinking he's probably going to ride it out. He's got a 5-second gap back to Sawyer. As Rafos, I believe, exits the joker now as we take cross flags in heat number 1. 2 seconds is the gap from him to Clog. And he has taken his strategy. Clog has not. Sawyer has. The only cars that Peterson and Clog have not jokered. So feel free to join the conversation. Hashtag ASNTVUSA. Hashtag NASA Rallycross. And I will try to take a look if I get a moment. But the level of perfection that Jakob Rafos is achieving is something extraordinary. I was taking a look in practice, and the level of knowing what your car is going to do, I just don't have any words. It's already a 3 1/4 gap, almost 3.5 seconds, as we're going to take 2 laps to go. And Clog still has not jokered in the 199. Taking a look in the back of the field, Sawyer and Palacio have jokered. This is for best of the rest. And like we mentioned at the end of last season, it started to get more and more important. It always was, but it started to get more and more mentioned that the third place guy in the heat race, yeah, you're not transferring, but you are on pole for your semifinal. And that is crucial, obviously, because we know how important pole position is. One car off. It's Palacio in the 83. Lost a little bit of time there. And it looks like he's driving for Fish Sport, but I can assure you he is not, as there has been stuff happening all throughout the last couple of weeks for silly season. Victor Aldrich, Russell Peterson into the fence in the 59. We're going to take the white flag. Here in Brands Hatch for Jakob Rafos, it's been easy off the start. He cleared Clog. We got 1 lap to go. And, of course, we've seen crazy things happen throughout the 10-year history of this championship, and I've seen people crash with 1 corner left. It might have happened to me once or twice. 3.5 was the gap. Clog has not jokered. He's going to joker here on the last opportunity. He's got 5 seconds in his pocket over Sawyer, so we'll just have to wait and see. As we take a look from high above, huge gap. Barely even seeing Rafos on that camera. And we'll pan it back here for the battle for third. Sawyer versus Palacio. Palacio ran a 56.3, 56.2 for Sawyer. They're pretty much equal on lap time, but I don't know what happened to Marcos entering that corner. Didn't have the greatest of entries or exits. Checkered flag, pole position for round 1 to Jakob Rafos, the World Championship driver, starting this season where he wants to, if he wants to win the championship. And defending champion Josh Clog will come home a distant second. 7.25 seconds behind the Norwegian. As Sawyer, Palacio, Aldrich, and Peterson will round out our running order. Heat number 2 on the grid for the round of Great Britain. And Robbie Lorille, if you expect, if I was in his shoes right now, and you got to get a good start, take it to turn 1. You're next to the defending sportsman champion, Justin Robichaux. Robichaux has had an incredible increase of pace over the last couple of months. We have Ben Forrester, Jameson Huffman, Alex Poteet, and Ray Kingsbury in the 25. 1 car waiting. It is Kingsbury. He is on track. We are getting ready to go for heat number 2. Another 6-lap race here in Great Britain.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag. Off the line, looks like Lorille beat Robichaux down to turn number 1. And Robichaux on the outside, Huffman on the outside. He gets turned by 1 car in the back. It looked like it was Forster. And Robichaux from second to last, from second in 1 corner. Huffman now trying to keep up with Robbie Lorille. Forster beating and banging with Kingsbury. Here comes Robichaux, and here comes Alex Poteet. So the third on back here, battling. Forster hits the sausage curb, over-rotates in the 23. Into the wall goes Kingsbury and Poteet. Let's see who will joker on the first opportunity here in heat number 2. Kingsbury does in the 25. And this battle is unexpected. Jamison Huffman leads at the end of the first lap here in Great Britain, ahead of Robbie Larill. And take it from experience, you want a joker right now if you're behind a slower car, because you can get gobbled up by these other cars if you're caught squabbling with a slower car. Larill on the back bumper of the 89 through turn 3 on the outside. Larill's going to use the sand to his advantage. It helped him hook the corner, but he still can't get anything going, I should say. Up the hill, inside, runs it wide as Huffman, and that's a lead change. Potentially, no! Huffman holds it, gets nudged there by Larill in the 213. And that's a huge amount of time that he gave up. Larill's going to joker, so is Robichaux. So Robichaux thinks that he has a little bit of a chance here in the 93. We have Poteet, Forster, and Kingsbury as we look from high above. They're going to have the speed over Robichaux. Slipstreaming down the front straightaway. You're going to run out of time here, Alex. Into turn 1. Can't make anything happen on the Canadian. Kingsbury nudges Forster in the 23. And Ray Kingsbury into the fence. He had a rough practice session. Couldn't get anything going on his sim rig. And could not get any laps as far as I could see. To the inside of Poteet goes Forster. As we're not missing anything up front, Larill might have jokered, but it's a 2-second gap that he needs to make up. Make it a second and a half, second and 3/4 to Jamison Huffman. Huffman has already, according to this, he has not jokered as my timing's broken. I apologize for that one. Now he jokers in the 89. So we're going to take a look and see if Robbie could take the fight to him. Exiting the final corner, he's going to take the lead side by side for a moment, but Huffman couldn't get it as we take cross flags in heat number 2. As Robbie so close to hitting the wall. The sim registered it as hitting the wall, as you potentially heard the sound of the 213 hitting the wall, and now Huffman has to claw this gap back if he wants to hold this transfer spot. But if I was him, I'd be more worried about Robichaux. Last lap, 56.965 for the Canadian. And Huffman, it was a joker lap, 58.876. We'll have to take a look at his lap time here in just a couple moments. As we'll ride on board car number 89. Actually ride on board car number 93 for Woven Planet Racing. We take 2 laps to go. That's the view from the rear bumper of Huffman. Looking back at Robichaux, it's about a second gap between those two. He nudges the wall there in the 89. So we'll have to take a look over the next couple laps. Looks like he runs it wide in turn 3 over the jump. As Robbie Larill had a little bit of a challenge there at the beginning of the race. But we know that he practices at 3 a.m. and 4:41 and 35 seconds in the middle of the morning. So he's got plenty of practice. But we're looking at the battle for the transfer spot to get your ticket punched to the feature race here in Great Britain. We have 1 lap to go. And we'll actually get a look at the lap times to take a look and see who's going to be quicker. 56.417 to a 56.410. Call it identical lap times between these two. And Ben Forster's sneaking into the picture, 56.145. He was faster. What happened to Robbie in the 213? The gap is gone, and 4 cars are under a blanket. Through turn 3, he uses the cushion, tries to get the drive off the corner. Into turn 4. Huffman dove it in, tried to maybe nudge him up the groove. It didn't help. It really didn't help. He comes out in front of Robichaux. That move might have sealed the second spot, and it might have given Robichaux wheel damage. Final corner, jokering is Forster. It'll look like he's going to gain some spots, but he won't. It's a slower lap than the regular course. Robbie Larill, with that scare, will take the victory in heat number 2, and Huffman holds on by the skin of his teeth to transfer in heat number 2 in car number 89. Robichaux best of the rest ahead of Forster, Kingsbury, and Poteet. Our third heat race on the grid, ready to go. Francois Martel, Magnus Okenhaug, Matt Powers, Aiden Irvin, Justin Ament, and Jess Rakowski. Couple team swaps as Okenhaug has moved to Team Watson Racing. Martel in a Volkswagen. There's a bunch of stuff going on as we get ready for the green flag. Wheel spin from Martel in the 12. That's going to help Okenhaug down to turn 1 from high above as we take a look into the first corner. Despite the wheel spin, Martel's going to lead us. He runs it wide, and Okenhaug to the lead. Side by side, it looks as though that's Aiden Irvin with Matt Powers. Contact with Powers, and it's Rakowski, it looks like. So the teammates come together. Through turn 3. Okenhaug, Martel, that's the top 2 over half of a lap. Irvin, Rakowski, Ament, and Powers. Powers sneaks to the inside of Ament, trying to make something happen for P5. Nothing doing so far, and Magnus Okenhaug didn't have much last season to talk about, but the Norwegian sitting in a pretty comfortable spot. He'd be on the inside of row number 2, so the pole of row 2, if it were to end after 1 lap, but it's not. 5 laps to go. He's got 0.3 of a second over Francois Martel. We know how quick Martel is in the Subaru. We'll see if his pace translates to the Volkswagen. I don't know if the start procedures are any different between cars, but that bite point was bad. He had some wheel spin, but he has redeemed himself on the back bumper of the 26 through the hairpin. No drifting from Magnus. Interesting to see there. And Martel stalking the Norwegian. Looks like he hit the wall exiting the corner. Martel, I think, is quicker than Magnus. We'll have to take a look and see once the lap times unravel, or if Francois will take to the Joker. Magnus takes to the Joker, so some strategy beginning to unravel here in Great Britain. So despite the fact of the slower lap, Magnus, well, I thought he was going to hold second. He will not. He'll get passed by Aiden Irvin in the 2:59. So we begin lap number 2. Irvin, Okenhaug, Rakowski up to 4th, Ament, and Powers. Jess Rakowski, the first female competitor in the couple of seasons. We used to have Diane Feldman, one of the Australian DGRX drivers. They have gone separate ways due to the time constraints of the different nations. But Rakowski, one of the new signings for Woven Planet, certainly trying her best. The transfer spot's heating up. Aiden Irvin holding up, potentially, Magnus Okenhaug. If I was Magnus, I'd be kicking myself. Yes, you jokered at a good opportunity, but then you're stuck behind Irvin, who jokers in the 2:59. We're coming to cross flag already in heat number 3. And Martel, 56.432 from the Canadian. Let's take a look at Magnus's last lap. 56.757. So 0.8 down is the Norwegian. As we have a battle for third. Rakowski to the inside of Irvin. Can't get it done. Through the chicane. Like I always say, if something goes wrong between the top 2, you always want to fight for that third spot, because anything can happen. Irvin, Rakowski, Ament, and Matt Powers in the 2:37, also for Woven Planet. Nearly 3 seconds. It is 3 seconds with the live gap that Martel has over Okenhaug. Looking at the delta, Martel is not jokered. So I don't think it's a 3-second difference, but Magnus is going to have to push like hell in order to make something happen. As we come to 2 laps to go. Rakowski jokers in the 999. 55.560 for Martel. 56.178 for Okenhaug. 0.6 down on the Canadian. So I don't know if something's a little amiss with the 26 or if he's got some wheel damage, but it does seem that something potentially is wrong with that Team Watson Racing Subaru. As we notice the track rubbering in, should get a fresh layer of dirt here before the semifinals, or at least before the feature race. As we'll ride on board car number 12, Francois Martel, as we get ready to take the white flag. 3.5 seconds from Martel to Okenhaug. And it is growing. What is going on? Magnus must have had an issue. Six seconds is the gap. Martel's going to have to joker here in the 12. And he does. We'll take a look. It's an 8-second gap. Magnus is almost being caught by Irvin and Ament. Interesting. Francois Martel, pole position, and he will win heat number 3. So we are 3 for 3 for pole position victors here in the heat races. As Martel and Okenhaug transfer, Irvin, Ament, Rakowski, and Powers to the LCQ. So for the first time in a long time, we don't have any Subarus in a heat race. Betty, Crosgrove, Kingsbury Mofta, Wetz, and Jake Robichaux making his debut. The final heat race of the evening, and there's no Subarus. Let's see if pole position will make it 4 for 4. Green flag, terrible start for Crosgrove in the 28. He comes across into Marwan Mofta, and he collects Jake Robichaux in his debut. As Kingsbury involved as well, Wetz runs it wide. We were clean at the start for 3 in a row, and then that happened. Now, if you're a fan of the NASA Rallycross Challenge, you'll know the name Chris Wetz. The man who has made a start in every season, 26 of them, sits in a transfer spot after 2 corners. Yeah, we might be talking a little bit too soon, but anything can happen. He rolled it and won a heat race once. Don't talk about that to me. I'll get really upset. Crosgrove into Wetz. And Kingsbury sneaks by in the 21. So he went from backing up in turn 1 to avoid the chaos to potentially into a transfer spot as we take the end of the first lap. Alex Abedi in the 99 leads. It's a 2.8 second gap from him to Matt Kingsbury. Cody Crosgrove in the 28. Chris Wetz, Jake Robichaux, and Marwan Mofta. Mofta, the Egyptian, the former race winner in the NASA Rallycross Challenge, turned on the start. Horrible luck for the Egyptian, as he is actually a 3-time race winner, I should say. He is 14th all-time on the wins list with those 3 wins. But he has not had any luck since he has won those couple of races. We got a battle for the transfer still. Crosgrove stalking Matt Kingsbury in the 21. And it's exciting to see what Matt Kingsbury will do back in the Ford. He ran the Volkswagen, he ran the Subaru, all over the place with manufacturers, and it's good to see LLM back in the Ford Fiesta, the most successful, I would say, of their programs. They would say otherwise, of course. Abedi still leads, but he takes to the Joker, completes his strategy, it looked like, in car number 99. Crosgrove in second, it says. My timing's wrong. I apologize there. It's Kingsbury, then Crosgrove. I was expecting something weird, or I thought something was weird there. Crosgrove, Wetz, Mofta, and Jake Robichaux. Robichaux, the father of Justin Robichaux, making his debut in the NASA Rallycross Challenge and making his debut on iRacing. If I do remember correctly, Justin told me his dad subscribed literally like a week ago, if that, and he's making his debut and crashing into walls. It's okay, Jake. It's NASA tradition. It's really NASA tradition. It's a big meme. So with Abedi jokering, Kingsbury has not jokered, but it's a shorter lap time. So we're coming across flags. It's a 2-second gap. We'll take a look at the lap time rotation here. 56.589 to 57.7 for Abedi. That was a joker lap. We'll see what happens. 56 flat to a 56.4. So it's 0.4 of a second from Abedi to Kingsbury that last lap. The gap is 2 seconds. So if I was Matt, I would just try and pull the gap that you can over your teammate. And we might be going 4 for 4 for pole position victories here in the heat races. And Chris Wetz saw the seas part in turn number 1 and tried really hard in the Volkswagen, but it was not to be. And he jokered early, which is weird because he normally jokers on the last lap of the race. There's Jake Robichaux in the grass. It looks like he's going to park it as he lets the leaders go by. A second and a half between Abedi and Kingsbury. Back up to 2 seconds. We take 2 laps to go. As we have our United Kingdom journey. We race here in Brands Hatch this evening, and we go next week to Knockhill, and that is one of my favorite racetracks on the service for Rallycross, because that middle sector is literally a stage rally, 1 groove wide. If you sneeze, you're in the wall and blocking the track. So be sure to join us on the Automotive Sports Network next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll have myself, and probably myself, bringing you the action. 56.164 to a 56 flat. Kingsbury's quicker, but it might be too late. We're coming to the white flag. He had a messy entry through that corner. 1.4-ish seconds is the gap. Cosgrove decently behind Kingsbury. And then Wetz. And looks like Robichaux's still on track. I stand corrected. I think he was just letting the leaders by in the 69. And I was looking at timing, and I look over, and I see Robichaux spectacularly crash and barrel roll. And in true NASA fashion, you still have a semifinal, my friend, but that's the best way to make your debut. It's under a second now. Well, it was fluctuating between Abedi and Kingsbury. And that line is interesting. If you get that sand trap right, it'll stop you in your tracks and let you get a good run off the corner. But you have to make sure you can pin the left sides in the dirt and the right side's on the road. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time. So Kingsbury has to joker here. And he's got a decent lead over Cosgrove, about 5 seconds. Make it, let's just say it's 4. So he should comfortably lead. Cosgrove across the line to transfer. It's going to be 4 pole position victories in a row in the heat race. Alex Abedi wins heat number 4. Ahead of Matt Kingsbury, Cody Cosgrove, Chris Wetz, Marlon Mofta, and Jake Robichaux. As just a reminder, our series and race this evening brought to you by Overwatch Specialty Service, our new entitlement partner of the NASA Rallycross Challenge. The only thing more unique than your problem is our solution. For more information, check out osscenter.com. And remember, it's Canadian. CENTRE.com, not ER, because Canadians are different. Semifinal A, 8 cars, 2 spots, 5 laps this time. And we saw last season how chaotic those semifinals were. I expect no different. We're going to take a look from high above so I can actually see what's going on. And I left my hard hat in the work truck. Green flag. Sawyer on pole position. Will it be 5 in a row? He got a pretty decent start. Aiden Irvin didn't get a good one. We're 3 wide. Down to turn number 1. 1 car in the back. It looks like it's Rakowski who had some issues. 1 car pinned against the wall. It was Russell Peterson. Contact with Irvin and Sawyer. Irvin to the race lead. Sawyer sits in second. Justin Ament sits in third. Then it's Palacio, Aldrich, Rakowski, Powers, and Peterson rounding the hairpin. And over the jump for the first time, Aiden Irvin. Great start after really getting a terrible start. He bogged down in that second phase of the start and really took that opportunity to pass Sawyer. Sawyer in second. Justin Ament in third. Who will joker on the first opportunity? Palacio does. So does Aldrich in the 98. Powers and Rakowski do not. Peterson does not. At the end of the first lap, Aiden Irvin pulling out a comfortable advantage. Looks like Sawyer defending on Justin Ament. This is for the second spot, and this is for the transfer spot. As third place will be given 13th place points, and it'll be down the order on the odd positions. So I'll go over that in just a moment once we're done with this. It's Sawyer holding off from Ament. Matt Powers, Palacio, Jess Rakowski, Aldrich, and Peterson. It's getting a little spicy for the top three. I think these guys are really under a blanket with pace. We'll have to take a look here and see if any jokers will be taken. Palacio's taken his. He sits in fourth. So he is the first car to joker until Sawyer does in the 88. So for Fiesta Siesta, exiting the joker, comes out ahead of Palacio. Rakowski in the 999 sits in the fifth position. A great debut for the 999. Palacio in fourth, Sawyer, Ament, and Irvin. So let's take a look at lap times here, boys and girls, as we begin lap number 3 here in the semifinal. 56.796 for Aiden Irvin, 57.159 for Justin Ament, 58.2 for Sawyer, but it was a joker lap, 57.2 for Palacio, 57.7 for Rakowski, 59.9 for Powers, that was a joker lap, and 59.7 for Aldrich, and Peterson 59.4. So a second and a quarter from Irvin to Ament. No jokers between the top two. Sawyer already has taken his joker. So remember, you take the joker once in the semifinals. As we take 2 laps to go. The only thing that's unfortunate for these top two is they have no delta for Brian Sawyer. Sawyer, who I have to give a shout out, helped me put this theme together from the pieces that I was given 30 minutes before the race, so thank you again, good sir. He is in the catbird seat for a transfer spot, along with Palacio, till Palacio runs it wide and goes to the beach. Powers and Rakowski. So we'll see the joker rotation here, coming to the white flag. As Ament does not joker, nor does Irvin. I'm kind of interested as to why they didn't alternate their strategy. Somebody's got to do something different because they're going to have to follow each other. And one of these guys, if not both of them, are going to miss the feature race. White flag. Palacio on the way inside in the 83. All over the back bumper of the 14 is the 88 of Sawyer. Through the chicane. Irvin ahead of Ament, ahead of Sawyer. One car way out wide, it's Palacio again. Try and keep a tire on the road. It'll make my job much easier when I have to look at the races after the fact. Palacio's in striking distance to take the transfer away from one of these guys. So we're going to take a look from high above and see what's going to happen in the joker. These two either are going to come together or both miss the feature. Rounding the final corner, Sawyer's going to have the run on the asphalt. He will easily take the lead from one of these guys. Will Palacio sneak it away? He's got the run on the asphalt. He's not going to get past Irvin, And Aiden Irvin will hang on and transfer through the feature. As best of the rest, Palacio, Ament, Rakowski, Aldrich, Peterson, and Powers, the remaining running order. As that, remember, is down 13th, down to 23rd as we get ready for semifinal B. I tried to give you the results, and ATVO decided to do its own thing, so I apologize on that one. Remember, join the conversation, hashtag ASNTVUSA, hashtag NASA Rallycross. And nasadiscord.tk if you'd like to join in on the fun. Thank you all for joining us here on the Automotive Sports Network this evening. Still have one semifinal left. And the feature race after a 5-minute warm-up where I'm going to step away and drink some water because my throat's not having a fun time. Getting ready for semifinal B. Green flag. Robichaux had the pole position. 28 at Crosgrove. 4 wide at the start. Crosgrove had a terrible start again. Wetz wide at the 71. Can he sneak it past? 4 cars. Everybody crashes in turn 1. Who's going to sneak out to the race lead? It's going to be Crosgrove in the 28. Crosgrove, Poteet, Forster, Wetz, Jake Robichaux, Marwan Moftah, Justin Robichaux, and Ray Kingsbury still trying to get turned back around in the 25. At least it took 5 races before everyone wadded it up in turn 1. Forster to the inside of Poteet. Position change. 369 gets passed by the 23. He will joker, Poteet does, in that Ford Fiesta. At the end of the first lap, Crosgrove leads. I would almost say deliberately, joking, of course, that Crosgrove had a terrible start because he didn't get off the line well. It backed up everybody into turn 1, and that's what caused that whole schmozzle. 2.5 from him to Forster. They sit in the transfer spots ahead of Poteet, Wetz, Jake Robichaux, Marwan Moftah, Justin Robichaux, as Jake into the wall, into the tire barriers, in the 69. And at this point, Ray Kingsbury just getting a little bit of practice, reacclimatizing himself with that Ford program in car 25. As Crosgrove and Forster have not jokered. Poteet sits in third. He has jokered. As Moftah up to 4th position. Wetz down to 5th. Justin Robichaux in 6th. And Ray Kingsbury in 7th. It's a second gap between Crosgrove and Forster. These two haven't taken any strategy, so if these guys squabble any sort, Poteet can pounce on them and take a transfer spot. We're going to come to 2 laps to go already here in Brands Hatch for the second semifinal. As the Dirtworks crew, aka iRacing, should reset the track before the feature race. Hopefully. If not, something will be fixed for next week. As Robichaux still having issues in the 69, staying out of the way of the leaders as we take 2 laps to go. It's a 5-second gap from Crosgrove to Poteet. 56 flat, 55.6 to a 56.7. I'm not sure what happened with the 369, but he potentially won't steal a transfer spot away after having a good chance of doing so in the first couple of laps. As Moftah, that running order has not changed. Moftah, Robichaux. Wetz has fallen back down the order. Looks like Moftah has not jokered. So we get some strategy differentiation as Forster jokers, Crosgrove does not. So we're going to take a look from high above and see where does this put him in relation to Poteet. Nowhere close. So white flag for Crosgrove in the 28. The former champion of the AM category of the NASA Sports Car Championship when we had that going on. And that car way back there is Ben Forster in the 23. Two and a half seconds from Crosgrove to Forster. And then it is a further, let's make it 3 seconds from Forster to Alex Poteet. So Crosgrove will have an easy run through the Joker. And once again, it's a racing incident in turn 1, but it was caused by Crosgrove having the worst of starts, bunching up the field, and he wins the race. Crosgrove will transfer, winning semifinal B, and our final seed for the evening is Ben Forster in the 23. Best of the rest is Alex Poteet ahead of Marwan Moftah. What could have been for Justin Robichaux He was on pole position, so our streak is broken, and the Canadian out in Great Britain ahead of Wetz, Kingsbury, and Jake Robichaux. As normally I would bring in a co-host of mine to talk your ears off for about 5 minutes. But like I mentioned, I'm by myself, so again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. If you'd like what you see, well, I'll be back doing it next week. Right around the same time, same place, different track. I'm going to step away and get some water, and I'll be back for the feature.
I thought that was personal for a second. Nah, I was looking, making sure I put enough gas, and it just came out.
Hey, you're welcome I gave you that winner.
as we get ready for round number 1 of the 2022B Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge. Round number 217 of the championship overall. Thank you all for joining me on the Automotive Sports Network tonight as we get ready here in Brands Hatch. We're going to take a look at our starting grid for our race this evening. I don't think that's right at all, so it'll refresh here in just a moment. There we go. Rafos, Larill, Martell, Abedi, Clog, Huffman, Oakenhout, Kingsbury, Sawyer, Crosgrove, Irvin, and Forster. So, 10 laps, 12 cars. And we had a clean evening, all evening long, until the semifinals. What could possibly go wrong here in Great Britain? As remember, our race this evening brought to you by Overwatch Specialty Service. The only thing more unique than your problem is our solution. For more information, osscenter.com. We get ready to go green here in Great Britain for round 1 of the 2022B Championship. Green flag in Brands Hatch. Off the line, Larill and Rafos side by side. It's 3 wide. It looks like that's Martell, Abedi, and it was Huffman on the outside. One car bowling into turn 1. Larill's around from the outside pole and take the 213 out of it. Rafos loves this. Larill hates this. Rafos loves this. As we begin the first lap, way off the road goes Jacob Rafos. Definitely going to keep an eye on that one all evening long. As down the hill, back up the hill, contact with the defending champion Clog, and the 199 cuts the track. Completely misses the corner, unfortunately. And there's going to be a lot that I'll have to look at tomorrow. I tried to make it easy, and you're trying to make it hard. That's okay. At the end of the first lap, Rafos will lead over Francois Martel, and if you're Francois Martel, you say, I have to hang on to the back of the 13, otherwise, goodbye, race is over. Rafos, Martel, Oakenhout, the top 3. Then it's Matt Kingsbury sneaking into the picture. Huffman, Crosgrove, Abedi, 2 cars. It's Crosgrove side by side with Huffman. Huffman gets shoved out wide. Abedi blinks, and Larill gets turned and sent to the back. And when it rains, it pours for the 213. As Brian Sawyer off the road, we have 11 cars already in this feature race. And we'll see some Joker rotation.
Sorry, I didn't really have anywhere to go.
If you're everybody but Jakob Rafos, you're having a terrible race. Maybe except for Francois Martel. But it's a second gap between Rafos to Martel. Locking it up is car number 13. The 12 gets a great entry through the first corner, through 2, through 3, to 4. Up the hill, still holding a second. And Rafos still pushes it wide. Okay. As Martel cuts the track there in the 12. Clog in the 199 sits in 11th. Last car on the track. Jokering is Rafos. Martel sits in second. Oakenhaugen third. Kingsbury Jokers in the 21. Abedi in the 99 is in 5th. Forster in 6th. Crosgrove Jokers in the 28. Robbie Larill, Huffman, Irvin, Clog. And if Rafos does this again, I'm going to have a good time tomorrow. And yes, I'm announcing this on a live show. Under investigation. I'll have to do that tomorrow. Track limits. 1 tire on the road is the rule, my friend. 1 car smashes into a wall from what I've heard on the, at least iRacing registered it. I can't seem to find it. It was Jamison Huffman in the 89. So I'll try and take a look at that in just a couple moments. As we begin lap 5, 1 lap to go till cross flags, and Martel still holds comfortable in the second spot. About 2 seconds is the difference. But if Rafos keeps this up, I don't know what's going to happen after the race. Okenhaug sits in 3rd. Kingsbury in 4th. Forster in 5th. 1 car in the wall, it sounds like it is. Cody Crosgrove in the 28. Irvin and Clog. With 2 cars still off the road, it's Huffman and Sawyer. As Rafos will take cross flags in car number 13. Battle's heating up for second between Okenhaug and Martel. Deep into the corner, both of them went. Okenhaug tried hard, hooked the back bumper of the 12, and around goes the 26 from a podium spot, and this puts Kingsbury into the 3rd position. Ahead of Martel, ahead of Kingsbury is Rafos. Okenhaug having some issues there. Forster. As a Betty, Larill pushing really hard, trying to gain up some time. And Cody Crosgrove still having issues in the 28. As both of them still off the road. So we begin lap number 7. For Jacob Rafos, it's a 9-second gap from him to Forster. To Kingsbury. As we take a look at these two, the Joker strategy is done for Kingsbury. And it's done for Martel. So Kingsbury has pipped Martel on the road for the 2nd spot. And I think my live comment worked because Rafos stayed on the track. Thank you. We're going to focus on the battle for second. It's a 10-second gap from Rafos to Kingsbury. Martel sits in the 3rd spot. We're coming to 3 laps to go here. As Forster sneaks his way into the 4th spot with his Jokers completed. Okenhaug had a terrible run in turn 1 a couple moments ago like we talked about. As a Betty and Larill. Larill has not taken his 2nd Joker in the 213. Desperate to get by, passes a Betty. He does not Joker though. As Clog in the 199 in the 8th spot. As Rafos continuing to stretch his lead. 3 laps to go. 9 seconds is the gap.
Someone please send a mechanic. My car is buggered.
Because Robbie Larill has definitely seen better days, I'd have to say. A guy that didn't need to see better days is this guy. 2 laps to go, and Rafos is flying. 55 flat is the lap time that last lap. As he took 2 laps to go ahead of Matt Kingsbury. This is going to be Kingsbury's best result since his victory, I do believe. I don't think he's had any luck in the past couple of years since that win. Could be wrong. There's a lot of races between them. But Matt Kingsbury on for a great result when his brother had a bad result. And I'm sure in the Kingsbury household that's going to be a mention of talking. Okenhaug has slipped down to 5th. Larill has tried to get time back. He is only back up to 6th. As Clog and Irvin, as those two still have not moved from the pit lane. White flag for Jacob Rafos in car number 13.
Mad props for that pass on the outside.
Led from pole, decided to do some off-track excursions, which is still under review. But according to right here and right now, Rafos is going to pull away and dominate this race in Brands Hatch. With half a lap to go, we don't want to call him home too soon. But Matt Kingsbury sits in second. Martel got pipped by Kingsbury in the Joker rotation. It was a very lonely race for the Norwegian, but he will come off the final corner and win yet again in the NASA Rallycross Challenge. He will open the championship up with a victory, and Jakob Rafos tied now for 10th on the wins list as he wins in Brands Hatch, tied with Dylan Smith. Matt Kingsbury comes home in second, ahead of Francois Martel. Magnus Okenhaug will come home in fourth. Still a great result for the Norwegian, after especially what happened in turn one. Robbie Larill is going to come back home to finish in fifth. Not exactly what he wanted, but certainly better than being in last like he was. Aiden Irvin will come home in sixth. Clog in seventh. As Alex Abetti will come home in eighth. Forster looks like he parked it, so Crosgrove's going to come home in ninth. Then it'll be Forster, Huffman, and Sawyer. So that's about all she wrote for the Great Britain Rallycross race here for NASA Rallycross. Normally we would do post-race interviews, but because I'm by myself and because I'm a big boy, I have to go to work at 5 a.m. So, we hope you join us next week in Knockhill for the second round of the championship, and hopefully by then I'm not going to be by myself. But I hope you enjoyed today's coverage here in the Automotive Sports Network. Hope everyone had a great time. And congratulations to Jakob Rafos, Matt Kingsbury on his second place, Francois Martel on the podium, and Magnus Okenhaug ever so close. We hope to see you next week from Knockhill, but until then, so long, everyone.